But welcome you all today. So glad you all have taken the time out of your very busy days. Hope everybody enjoyed a wonderful Thanksgiving break. And so appreciate you being here with us today as we hear from the Craft Academy and the Gatton Academy, hearing about the awesome programs they have at their institutions. And at first, I'm going to just hand it over to the Craft Academy. And thank you all both so much for being here today with us.
Thank you. Hello, good morning. My name is Jeremy Webb. I am the Admissions, Public Relations, and Recruitment Coordinator for the Craft Academy.
My name is Dr. Derek Ralph. I'm the Assistant Director for Guidance and Counseling of the Craft Academy.
We'll take a minute to talk about our program. So we are the Craft Academy for Excellence in Science and Mathematics at Morehead State University. So we're located on Morehead State University. We're going to go down our PowerPoint that we normally go to students and show us some of the important talking points. So the first question everybody asks me when I talk about Craft Academy is, well, what is the Craft Academy? The Craft Academy is a dual credit residential STEM focused program. We're geared towards academically exceptional Kentucky students. So the gist of it is this. So students apply to our program during their sophomore year of high school. And once they get accepted, they spend their junior and senior years of high school on our campus, Morehead State University's campus, where they take real college classes with real college students. By the time they graduate from our program, they graduate not only from high school, but they graduate with no less than 60 college credit hours, totally free to them and their families. So some simple program details. So we offer, like I said, a minimum of 60 college credit hours to our students, as well as free housing and unlimited daily meals at no cost to the student or their families. Additionally, we offer potential for additional scholarship money after the fact. We offer something called the Joe Craft Scholarship to graduates of the Craft Academy. My brother, who is a graduate of the program, currently is studying at the University of Alabama on a full ride, thanks to the Joe Craft Scholarship. We also offer fantastic one-on-one counseling, personal, mental health, career, college scholarship at absolutely no cost. As well, we offer a rewarding and enriching social and academic environment geared towards our exceptional Kentucky students. So some of the classes our students take, we are a STEM plus X academy. We have science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Then we have our plus X component that we offer to the students, and that's creativity and design, entrepreneurship, innovation, civic, and regional engagement. So through those STEM interests, we express them through our plus X interests, and we can do all kinds of amazing things. So some of the STEM curriculum. So our students take these classes to help graduate from high school. So they take kind of, I like to think of it as reverse dual credit. Whereas with the regular dual credit program, you take a high school class that offers you college credit. Here we're offering high schoolers college classes that give them high school credit instead. Our students take 4 science courses, 3 math courses, 3 STEM electives, and 2 English courses to pad out the majority of the rest of their high school requirements. And then they take our plus X curriculum. They take our 3 core classes, and they take focus track in one of their plus X interests to pad out the rest of their years. And through that, they graduate with 60 to 72 college credit hours and an absolutely massive jump start on their college career once they get to college. We also offer fantastic research, internships, and other special projects. So right now we have 3 major special projects. We have the Hazel Green Academy Revitalization, which is where our students go down to Wolfe County, which I want to say is in KVEC, to the Hazel Green Academy, where they have gone to this academy for 3 years and they've been revitalizing it. Now they host music on the green every weekend or every Thursday. We have our FTC First Technical Competition Robotics team, where our students design, engineer, and build a robot from the ground up. Recently, our students had about 4 days to design their robot, and they placed first place in our competition on campus. And we have our Casper Solar Car Team project, where our students, again, design, build, and engineer from the ground up a car powered by the sun, and they race that against other students. And then we've won several awards in that as well. And that's just some of our special projects. We also offer various research and internships as well. So we have students working with all kinds of professors on campus for all kinds of amazing research opportunities. And once our students go to present those opportunities, we will send them to wherever that might be that to Frankfurt, to Louisville, to Hawaii, or even to Tokyo, Japan. We send students to all of those amazing destinations. So I must say, I myself, I'm also a graduate program. I'm very thankful to be the very first person to come back to the Craft Academy and work full time. So I can say with absolute certainty that my decision to apply to the Craft Academy and the Gatton Academy, I applied there as well, is probably the best decision I've ever made. It was some of the best years of my life. The opportunities that it offered to me have allowed me to jump years ahead of my peers and what I wanted to be doing. I was able to go to the University of Kentucky on a full ride scholarship. I graduated with 2 degrees in mathematics and physics, and I simply wouldn't have been able to do that without these amazing programs. But I'll throw it over to Dr. Ratliff to talk about some of the other aspects of the academy.
One thing about the academy, we're not a high school, we are a program. So when your students come here, they're still primarily enrolled in your school and your school district. They're secondary enrolled here, which means that all the SEEK money, all your ADA money, everything still stays, test scores, everything stays at their home school. One of the things with the ADA money, I used to be a DPP too, so I know about this, and it's great for schools because I tell superintendents and principals, you actually make money if you send your student to Craft or Gatton, because if they pass every class, they're 2 years here. It's like they haven't missed a day of school for 2 years back in your school district. So you're not, losing any money. You're actually kind of making money by them coming here. Couple other aspects of Craft. We have, like Mr. Webb said, about our Craft scholarship. It is, hold on, we're signing in something different. It is to be not a bridge scholarship for our graduating seniors. It's more of like if one of our seniors has applied to UK and on their family contribution, the UK says after everything is given scholarships, they owe maybe $3,000. The Craft scholarship will probably pay $2,500 of that. So it gives them, an opportunity to go somewhere and hopefully outside of the state, but to come back into Kentucky and help grow Kentucky. That's Joe Craft's dream about the Craft Academy. So we've had several students that, majority of students will stay in state, and I'm a graduate from Jenkins High School, so I know the culture of Eastern Kentucky is that you don't move too far from home. And we're hoping to break that and have them go to other places. Like Joe said, we've had students go to Georgia Tech, Virginia Tech, Harvard.
Last year we sent a student on a full ride to West Point.
West Point, yeah. How can I forget West Point? West Point, all your, major like STEM careers, major universities outside of the state. Hopefully for them to come back too. And that's a lot of our students want to do that, come back and help grow Eastern Kentucky and Kentucky in general. So with that being said, I don't think of anything else. If anybody has any questions, do you have anything else can we talk about?
So I guess the only thing I would say is that, for a teacher, because the reason I decided to apply to these kinds of programs is that when I was a sophomore in high school, I felt that I was kind of being, I want to say, stifled by my ability to progress. I was a gifted and talented student. I was taking whatever advanced coursework that I was offered to me, and I still felt like I wasn't being challenged enough by the coursework. And so I went to go speak to my a teacher I had. He was my chemistry teacher, and I asked him if he thought I could take these 2 concurrent science classes next year. And he looked at me and said, Jeremy, what you really need to do is you need to apply to this program. And I thought about it for a long time, and I'm like, this is the perfect program. This is going to let me go at my own pace. This is going to let me challenge myself, and when I get out of it, I'm going to be able to be so far ahead of my peers that I'm going to have so many amazing opportunities. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is that if you are a teacher and you think you might see a student who might be in that similar situation, who might not be challenged by the coursework, who might be looking for an opportunity to advance themselves further than what your high school might be able to offer them, then I would say recommend them to our program. Absolutely. But yeah, I think we can open the floor for any questions that anybody might have.
Thank you all so much. You all feel free to unmute or type in the chat any questions that you might have for the Craft Academy.
I don't have a question. Oh,
I'm sorry.
now go ahead.
Okay, so I'm in Floyd County, and we've had a couple go there, and they seem to have enjoyed it. But my biggest thing is, like, how do we, like, I don't want to say sell this to kids, because I know rather than them staying here, because like now, um, I know a lot of the high schools offer dual credit now, so they can get dual credit. They can stay here, and they can also, we have the early college academy, so they can go to Big Sandy and they can get their associates there. So what can I do to get them to say, okay, why should I go to craft?
Well, so what I would first say is that so we offer more than just a dual credit opportunity because we are a residential program. So in addition to offering them the college tuition, we also offer them a room board. We give them a place to stay on Morehead's campus for the full 2 years. We give them the total college experience for 2 full years that with a typical like early college program or a dual enrollment program just typically wouldn't be able to offer because we offer that all-encompassing residential component, alongside the fact that Morehead State University has several fantastic programs. We have we're top 5 in the nation for our space science programs. Our med school entrance is best in the state. We have the best nursing program in the state. We offer all kinds of opportunities that many other colleges simply wouldn't be able to offer. I'd say is a big way to sell the program to some students. And actually, I personally went to Floyd County. Do you mind if I ask which of the high schools you're from?
I'm the gifted and talented coordinator, so I service all the high schools: Point Central, Betsy Lane,
Okay.
and Prestonsburg.
Well, fantastic. Yeah, I definitely, when I went to Floyd County, I saw some fantastic students who I definitely hope apply to the program.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Oh, don't get either the scholarships on the end too. The craft,
Yes.
yeah, craft scholarships. Even I know Western Kentucky, Louisville, UK, Moorhead, they all offer special craft scholarships for Craft Academy and Gatton students.
I really don't think dual credit classes compare to what the Craft Academy offers because can you all hear me?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because what I've seen of the dual credit classes, the kids take maybe 1 or 2 a semester, or I mean a year. And when you're at the Craft Academy, that's all day, all year, all semester. Because I've only seen a couple of dual credit classes, being offered where I'm at.
Craft, when a student graduates, will have no less than 60 college hours.
Yeah,
Yeah.
typically our students take between 5 and 6, full college courses every semester across 4 semester. That's usually like between 20 and 24 entire dual credit opportunities, and and Morehead's credits transfer very well outside of Morehead into the rest of the state, and pretty well out of the state as well to plenty of other places. And regular dual credit programs typically can't do that. I know a lot of dual credit programs are typically through Morehead. But this is the opportunity to get the full package, so to say.
Actually, I have a question, and this is just me as somebody from KVEC, because I think it's phenomenal that these kids have an opportunity, to come on campus, and my daughter sees these students all the time and everything there, and knows that they're very much involved and in classes and everything, but my big question is, what I would hope, and you had mentioned this just a moment ago, and so considering that one of you went to high school at Jenkins and another went to high school in Floyd County, then you guys understand the need for this. Is there considerations and maybe even work being done there at Craft to actively draw those students back to Eastern Kentucky? Because we've talked about the brain drain in Eastern Kentucky for, oh my gosh, 60, 70 plus years. I mean, is there really an active movement there within Craft to really get those kids back to their region, or do they leave? And like, I know you maybe get some, but I mean, I would really like to see, and especially considering that in Kentucky, I learned this just a couple of months ago, that our #1 export is aeronautics and space engineering products. So we need those kids back in Kentucky. So especially, I'm going to say Eastern Kentucky, because you guys know there's a need there. Is there some movement in that area? Maybe, I don't know. special incentives that they're going to use to get the kids back here?
Absolutely. So one of our major plus X components is civic and regional engagement. So an entire, I guess, a third of that program is kind of how can you as a student, once you get out into the industry, how can you be able to give back and help enrich and improve your community that you find yourself in. And we have lots of students who are returning. I know at least 2 or 3 other craft students who are around my age who have gone back, who have become teachers in various counties. People who are coming back who are becoming pharmacists, who are becoming architects within the community itself, and who are helping to enrich the place that they're from.
We also have a position, assistant director for alumni communications, where we keep track of our alumni. And every year we have a program where we have them come back in, alumni conference. We ask them to come back in, and we're starting, I think in the spring, a mentor program for students who have graduated from college but want to come back and mentor present students, and to help kind of bridge that gap between Eastern Kentucky and the rest of the world. One of the things I always bring up, I'm originally from Chicago. My whole family, parents, my aunts and uncles all grew up and born and raised in Pike County. But in the 50s, when they had to go, they got out to go north to find jobs. My parents ended up in Chicago, and I was born there, lived there, I was 13, but they came back. They had an opportunity to come back, and they did. And that's the same opportunity we want for our students, is to have that, if the opportunity comes, come back. So we try to encourage that among all of our graduates, and we keep in touch with them through what's the graduate?
Craft Connect.
Yeah, Craft Connect. Yeah. So we keep in touch with them periodically. And this is something that Joe Kraft really wanted. He's from Hazard, grew up there, and he's like, I really want them to be still connected to home. Granted, we all are, but to be also invested back home. So he's created that too. So the mentoring program is something that we're going to start. I think it's going to kick off in the spring.
Another thing I wanted to touch on that has evaded my mind. So I am a first generation college student. Neither of my parents graduated from a 4-year program. And so I think that the Craft Academy as a bridge between high school and college served me incredibly. I know that East Kentucky has a massive first generation college programs going on. I mean, I was a part of the Robinson Scholar. For those who remember it, rest in peace, Robinson Scholar. And I would have been absolutely out of my depth if I had simply walked onto UK's campus one day. I would not have known what to do, who to talk to, where to go, or anything. And so the 2 years that I spent at Craft really helped me transition through that extremely difficult period to understand how to go to college, how to succeed in college, while still having the support net of our absolutely fantastic academic staff, our counselors to push me when I felt lazy and guide me when I got lost. They were all there to really help me through that massive. So once I did step onto campus into that first generation college program, I was able to kind of act as a mentor to my peers. And in fact, I became a peer mentor my sophomore year for my first generation LLP at UK, so that I could help others guide through that same transition, because it's such an important and transitory time for students that we can help them through that. I think is a massive advantage of our program as well.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions? Jeremy, will you mind to send me a link to the PowerPoint so that I can put it in our folder so that our coordinators and teachers can get to your PowerPoint? If you don't care to email that to me, please.
I can absolutely do that. And I'll go ahead and mention that. So at the end of the PowerPoint, there is our email, as well as a QR code where students can, or teachers can scan that to schedule a tour with us, get more information about the program. I'll just mention that here so that if someone wants to watch that later, they can find that. But I can absolutely get that email to you.
Now, one of the stipulations also to getting into the Craft Academy, when their sophomore year, they have to be enrolled in Algebra 2. Is that correct? They have to have had Algebra 2. Is that?
They need to be on track to finish Algebra 1, Algebra 2, and Geometry by the end of their sophomore year. So as long as they're on track to finish those programs by the end of their sophomore year, they're good. However, we're still encouraging any students to apply, even if they might not have those requirements immediately, because we always can make considerations for that kind of thing. But we definitely,
Oh, okay.
highly suggest they have those courses, absolutely.
Or the equivalent of those courses. I know schools are going in, taking algebra 2 out and calling it something else, but the equivalent of those courses, yeah.
Gotcha. And then the due date for the application is February 1st.
Yeah, so it's February 1st every year, and then the application will open on August 1st of every year. So currently for the class of 2026, the application is open. It will close on February 1st. And the class of 2027 will open on August 1st of 2024.
Gotcha. Anybody else have any questions? Checking the chat. Feel free to unmute.
I see kids in my district that are just wonderful candidates for this, but some of them are so hesitant to leave home. They're afraid of getting homesick, or, you know, I had a student one summer went out to Moorhead to do a science thing that she got accepted in, and her parents had to drive back and pick her up a few days later. So do you have ways that you deal with kids? Do you have any kids that leave because of that?
Yeah, unfortunately we do. We've had students, if they get past the first 2 weeks, we make a requirement they stay on campus that week. We have an orientation week that they come early. And we work with them that whole week, and we make a requirement they stay that weekend and stay the whole next week. We've had a few leave, but nothing like we imagine would leave and go back home. What we run into is the students that when they come, they're overwhelmed by the freedom they have. You know, I always told somebody, President Andrews, former president here, when he first started craft, after probably the first 3 graduating classes we had, he asked me what the difference was in somebody staying at craft and graduating, somebody going back home. And I said independence. If they're able to make decisions for themselves, problem solve, and not math, but daily problem solve, they'll be fine. They'll get through. And there's people here for myself, as long as other counselors and advisors, to help them through that. But after COVID, I said I added discipline to that because now they had to be disciplined enough to actually go to class and things. The biggest, we still have, the mental health issues that all schools are going through and everything, but it's a little bit heightened here because they're on their own. They can't go back home. When they're done for the day and they come back to their dorm, they don't go home. So we act as a parent while they're here. But what a lot of things is that we've noticed is how they can, their time management, the freedom they have. They're structured to be in school from 8 to 3:30. They know where they're going to be every minute of the day. They come here, they know they have class at maybe 10 o'clock, and that's their first class. They have to get themselves up. I ask parents, we have a parent orientation this summer. How many of you actually wake your child up to go to school in the morning? Everyone raise their hand. I said, stop doing it. Let them get themselves up, let them get themselves ready. So there's a lot of transition issues that we deal with, and we help them through it. Starting with the summer after they've been accepted, and all the way through the 2 years. We actually had a student several years ago that had a full ride to Purdue and didn't want to go. And after talking with her several times, she finally confessed that she didn't know how to ride the bus system there in Purdue. And I was like, well, it's kind of because she's never ridden one before. The only bus she rode was one that picked her up in her front door, is yellow, and took her to school. Me growing up in Chicago, I had to walk 3 blocks to a school, a bus stop where buses come to pick you up, and actually had to ride, the system there. So I sat down with her. We looked it up on the internet, showed her how to ride it. You ride the blue line to the red, go here. She actually ended up going to Purdue and actually graduated. But in October, I got an email from her thanking me for showing her how to ride the bus system. You think something like that would keep a student away, but it's that fear. They've got to get past that, the unknown, and once they do it, they're okay. I'll tell another story here, then I'll stop again talking. But we have a summer trip every year. We go overseas. The last trip I went on was at Greece. And one of the things during that trip is the students had to go into Athens, Greece, ride the subway by themselves, go to dinner. Wasn't anything, that we wanted to do. It's just, hey, if you're here's free time, go to Athens, ride the subway, go eat. Our tour guide, another students left. They were in the school, the lobby of the hotel. Tour guide came up and asked, how come they're staying here? I said, well, honestly, none of these kids have ridden the subway. There's no subways in Kentucky, unless they've been to a city, and even then, they probably haven't, ridden the subway. So he ended up buying everybody a pizza, and the next day for lunch, we taught them how to ride the subway. I've ridden the subway in Chicago and New York and stuff. I gotta tell you, cleanest subway I've ever seen. You can eat off the floor, and we taught them how to buy a ticket and stuff, and what to do. And one of the things we told them is to make sure you put everything in your front pocket, because there's pickpocketers and stuff. And sure enough, we had a girl that she had her phone and her tickets in her hand, put her phone in her back pocket, put her tickets in her purse, reached back, phone was gone. And we had our tour guide saw these three ladies that were following us. I'd seen them too, but I didn't really pay attention. But they stole from her things, in which she was okay. She said, yeah, I've got insurance, I get another phone. But it was a learning, for everybody else. Hey, it's not bad. Yeah, something bad happened, but it's not, tragic. You guys know how to ride a subway. You guys know what to do. And one of the things that our tour guide thought I'd never thought of before, he said, your best magicians in the world first started out as a pickpocket. And he said, because they can take the watch right off your wrist and you not even know it. And so there's those, and I didn't know that either. I was like, wow, that makes sense. But there's those, events that we have that we take them out that hopefully they kind of grow from. And they realize, hey, I can do this.
Well, thank you guys for giving us the time to talk, yeah. But we'll shut up now. I'll let Carrie present. I know Carrie has a fantastic presentation. But again, thank you guys so much, and I'll make sure that I get you that PowerPoint sent to you. So again, thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you all. Thank you all for joining us today. Appreciate you all taking time out of your busy schedules to help us and give us information on the Craft Academy. We really appreciate you all today. If there's not any more questions, then we will hand it over to Carrie Lynn with the Gatton Academy. I think you can share your screen. Let me see. Did Jeremy stop sharing his screen yet?
Yeah, I think mine is sharing.
I don't see yours. I see his. I don't know.
We still see his too. We don't see hers yet.
Yeah.
Now we do.
Okay.
Yeah, there it is.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having me. I know I often get the question, what's the difference between Craft and Gatton? So I hope this will be really helpful in being able to communicate with your students. One, that honestly, they are very similar, but there are some differences, and some of that just comes down to location, right? So my name is Carrie Lynn Summers. I'm the Assistant Director for Admissions and Public Relations at the Gatton Academy of Mathematics and Science, and we are at Western Kentucky University. And so this is my direct email, and then I'll be happy to send that information along whenever you also receive this presentation. But working with you all, working with your students, that is the highlight of my job. It is the time when I get to share, and help students realize that, there are opportunities for them, and it's a great opportunity to apply to programs. One of the things that I know Jeremy and I talk about is, apply to both programs. Why would you apply to both? One, the timeline is very similar. So both of our deadlines are February 1. Our application processes are very similar. Interview day, we coordinate who's doing which day. So that way students don't have to choose between both. Ultimately, there are only so many spots in each program. And so you double your chances of getting to go to a program if you apply to both. So we want students to know that they have choices. The best position they can be in is getting acceptances from both and getting to choose the place that they want to be at. And so we don't want to take that choice away from them by only offering one option. And so I'm so excited to be chatting with you all today about our program, and I hope it's worth your time. And so as opposed to who we are, very similar to craft. We're a residential STEM program for gifted and talented juniors and seniors in high school. But we are based at Western Kentucky University in Bowling Green. But we have students come to us from all over the state. So this is our history of enrollment. So we definitely still have students coming to us from Eastern Kentucky. We are a program for the entire state of Kentucky, and we recognize that whenever it goes into planning. So some things that we do to help support our Eastern Kentucky students are we have shuttles that go towards Eastern Kentucky every closed weekend. So we have a closed weekend once a month where our students are forced to go home. So I often get that question, like, will you ever come home? Am I ever going to see you? And I'm like, yes, you are forced to go home at least once a month. So we have shuttles that take students to London and Versailles. And our students who have the furthest drive get first dibs at those seats on the shuttles. So that way those families don't have to drive all the way to Bowling Green. That's can be really difficult on families. So we want to help alleviate that strain on them. And then of course students can go home more than once a month, but those are just when the shuttles are available. And so families want to come get their child they do the shuttle one weekend a month, and so then on an every other weekend, come pick them up or come visit them in Bowling Green. Absolutely, that is something that our students do quite often. We also have affinity groups for our Eastern Kentucky students. So we have affinity groups for all different types of identities that our students might have. And we want to make sure that they can interact with students that have similar values as them, similar backgrounds as them. And we connect them with not only staff at WKU or at Gatton with that same identity, but also Gatton Academy alumni. So that way they can hear, this is how I was an Eastern Kentucky student. I was at Gatton Academy. I went on to this college, and that question about, bringing them back. We want to connect them with their roots. We want them to feel that connection to Kentucky. It's a really big goal of ours to help support the economy of Kentucky. And it's been really exciting to see all of the great ideas and innovations from our Eastern Kentucky students. I know I have a student who just graduated from Hazard High School this past spring. She plans on going to medical school, and she wrote an entire blog post about how she plans to go back to be a physician in Eastern Kentucky because access to healthcare is a really big passion for her. And we encourage those things. So you definitely, although we're at Western Kentucky University, by no means does that mean that we're only for Western Kentucky students. And the big thing here too is that it's free. So our students receive a $41,000 scholarship to cover the cost of their tuition, their housing, unlimited meal plan, so they can swipe that ID card once an hour. Our students do not go hungry while they're with us. And then things that aren't included in that are going to be things like textbooks, study abroad expenses, that gas money to and from home, the decorations for their room, things like that. But we have needs-based scholarships that we provide a stipend directly into a student's bank account. So that way, if they have that need, that we never want finances to be a barrier for them to get to come to our program. And so that way their family has the freedom to spend that money as their family needs. So not only do they receive that main scholarship, but if needed, we have those stipends to help our students with the cost of living. And so working with the sending school, Jeremy hit on this a bit. And so all of our students stay enrolled in their home high school. So you do continue to receive that SEEK money. You receive the benefits of their test scores, any achievements. We do our best to really highlight our students' high school anytime we highlight something great that they do. So it's usually, a Hazard High School and Gatton Academy student in all of the press releases in the social media. So we try to make sure that we highlight all of the hard work that you all do with that student as well. But it also benefits the student because I know I get questions of like, well, can I still go to prom? Yes, you can still go to prom. You're still a student at your high school. You can go to homecoming. You can send your photo to be included in the yearbook. You can compete on academic team if your school allows you to. Anything that you can do by virtually or only on weekends, you can absolutely still participate in with your home high school, so long as they're okay with it too. The only thing is sports. Our students can't play KHSAA sports just because the rigor of sports and the rigor of academics, they don't balance that great. And we haven't found students to be successful trying to do both, especially from far away. And so our students still are very athletic while they're with us and things like that too, if that's something that's important to them. But overall, we don't want to take anything away from the sending school. And now our academic curriculum is very math and science based. So this is one of those differences between Craft and Gatton is the outline of our curriculum. Still very similar, but we don't have the +X component. And so we have something called STEM plus critical languages, where a handful of students can focus on taking Chinese or Russian while they're with us, but that's only about 5 to 10 students per class. So most of our students are really heavily focusing on the STEM courses. So on the math side, they're taking trig, calc 1, calc 2 at minimum, but some go on to discrete, linear, differential equations, things like that. All of our students take biology, chemistry, computer science, physics, and engineering. And then we have some ways that students have to choose one of those to take the second iteration of. And then they also fill their time with required STEM electives. But we're going to make sure they still graduate from high school. So that means making sure they have English, history, they take that civics exam while they're with us, and we send you that score so that way you can check off if they have that civics requirement. Anything they still need to graduate from high school, we look at their transcript, we make sure that they get it while they're at WKU. So they just take those classes as well. And this is new. This is another one of those differences. So we offer an associate's degree for our students, and we pay for the diploma processing. So all of our students not only graduate with a high school diploma, a diploma from the Gatton Academy, but also that associate degree of interdisciplinary studies from Western Kentucky University. So our curriculum did not change in order to offer that. It just happened to fit really well in with what we were already doing. But we made sure we did our research, and we made sure that students wouldn't be penalized for receiving it either. So despite it being associates from WKU, they are not considered a transfer student when they go on for real college. They are going to be a first-time freshman, which means they're eligible for first-time freshman scholarships. Course credit-wise, they might be considered a junior or a senior, but by all means, when it comes to that 4-year scholarship, this associate's degree does not harm them no matter what school they go to. And I also heard that question about, now, why in the world would my student do this if they have opportunities for dual credit, to stay at home, early college? And that's a great question to ask. So not only do you get that associate degree, those credit hours, we also have opportunities outside of the classroom that come along with that residential component at being at a college or university. So 90% of our students are doing research. And this is more than just doing a project in a classroom for that one-time assignment that they have to get done. They're being mentored by WKU faculty, and they're working in a field that's really interesting to them. And so yes, we're a STEM school, so a lot of our students do STEM, but this is an opportunity for our students to engage in English, humanities, theater, dance. They can do research outside of STEM. So if they're a more well-balanced student and they want to kind of explore other career pathways, this is a great opportunity for them. And our students present at conferences. We have over 100 conference presentations completed each year by our students. And some are even getting published in academic journals before they even have a driver's license. So those are some things that are great opportunities for them to look really good on not only college applications, grad school applications, and ultimately career pathways. There are undergrad students who aren't published, and our students are getting those lines on their CV before they graduate from high school. So that's one of those opportunities that can be really great for them. Another are our study abroad programs. Most of our students have never left the country. Some have never left Kentucky. And we help them get a passport, and we want to encourage them to explore, you know, what visiting other places can look like, but they also get college credit while they do it. So all of our study abroad programs are tied to a course. We want to make sure that if they're paying enough money to be able to go to this program and they're spending valuable time doing it, we want them to walk away with that course credit. So United Kingdom is a 3-week program over the summer where our students are taking their English class. So rather than being in English for an entire year or an entire semester, our STEM kids are really excited about getting English done in 3 weeks while being in the UK. So they study British literature, they see Shakespeare play, they see where Jane Austen grew up, and they're reading those stories while they're there. And then Costa Rica is a biodiversity class for 2 weeks over winter break. And students study the tree life, plant life, animal life, bird life of the Costa Rican rainforest. And then they get to present on their findings. They help endangered turtles that are hatching on the beach get safely to the ocean. And they're learning more about ecosystems and the importance of diversity in an ecosystem. And so our students receive $1,000 scholarship towards one of these trips by automatically. And then we have needs-based scholarships to cover the differences. So we want every student who wants to go on this trip to be able to go on this trip. So we work with them on making that happen. And then this is where our students live. So it's right on campus. But some of the things that I want to really hit on are those safety and security features. Because I know you engage with students, of course, but I know you also have a lot of conversations with parents, especially in the small communities. And you might get questions about, well, I'm not sending my student away because my daughter is going to be 15 years old and she's not going to live on a college campus. My father would have had a fit if I even offered this up to him as something I wanted to do. But our building is on lockdown 24/7. So there are 2 points of entry that you can't get into unless you have a key card. And only our students and our staff have key cards that enter the building and then enter onto their wing. And our students are separated by gender. So our males live on one side, our females live on another. And I guarantee you, if their key card works for the male side, it doesn't work for the female side. And of course, we have cameras throughout the building to make sure that students are also following those rules as well. But we have our front desk man 24/7. We have curfew. Our students are allowed to leave campus, but they have to be in a group of 2 and tell us where they're going. And they can only walk there. So it has to be within walking distance, which downtown Bowling Green is within walking distance of WKU. So that's where a lot of our students go. And if they're going to be back after sundown, they have to leave in a group of 4. And of course, they have to be back by that curfew. And that curfew is face to face. So it's not like a student can be like, oh, they're in the shower. I promise they're here. Like, no, they would have to get out of the shower and come be seen face to face at that curfew. So our students can't drive while they're with us. Motor vehicle accidents are too high of a risk for our students to be driving around, especially with a bunch of teenagers in a car. So we don't allow them to have vehicles. They can, of course, bring their car and park it at a different part of campus that they don't get access to without someone driving them. And they turn in their keys to the residential counselor. And then they don't get those keys back until mom and dad have said, hey, you're allowed to come home, or they're coming home, give them their keys so they can drive to us. So that is definitely something they can do, is drive to and from home. They're just not driving around Bowling Green. And we hit on this a little bit as well, talking about those life skills that our students need to know. So just real quickly, making sure that students know that, like, when they're here with us, they have to get up on their own. They have to do their own laundry. They have to shower without someone telling them that they stink. So just basic things like that of working with our families and making sure that there are things they can be doing at home to help with the transition to us. But of course, that transition can be difficult no matter what. That homesickness is real. We have the same policy on the first, they don't go home pretty much till after that Labor Day weekend is really the first weekend at home after they come to us, because they don't start until like the 3rd week of August. We're on a college schedule. Because we want them to build friendships, we want them to build community, and that can really help in those first few weeks with the homesickness. We want them to have fun, but we also give them time to kind of be secluded in their rooms, because not everyone's an extrovert, and we want them to also have that time for themselves and recoup. We have academic counseling to help our students who are struggling with having to study for the first time and things like that. So we do have a 90% retention rate right now, because we do provide so many resources for our students to be successful. And then we also have college counseling for that life after Gatton. This is a brief summary. It is not an exhaustive list of every college and university that our students attend, but they go all over the place. But most of our students stay at WKU, UK, and U of L. This year, we actually had more students for the first time at U of L than UK, because Louisville offered a massive scholarship package for our students. But we also have plenty of students who go closer to home. Maybe the Vanderbilt is probably one of our top 7, is in our top 7, because it is a really great school close to home, and that's a really big thing for our students. But we also want to make sure that we are counseling students through, what is the best fit for them? What are they looking for? And also helping them get it paid for. So our class of 2023, they were offered $29 million in scholarship money. That's 90 students, 90. offered $23 million, and they ultimately accepted $8.5 million. And over the course of our 17 years, we have over 1,000 alumni. They've been offered $283.2 million and ultimately accepted $78.9 million in college scholarship money. So that's another one of those things. Now, why would this be something my student would be interested in? The scholarship money can be really a game changer for our students. And those opportunities outside of the classroom are what help make them super competitive for those scholarships. And so for you all, I'm not going to go too much into our admissions decisions, but I want you to have a basic of information so that way if students are asking you questions, you have a good basis of how to answer those. But please, by all means, send them my way if they have any questions that you don't feel equipped to answer. But they do have to be a resident of the state of Kentucky and they apply during their sophomore year. And then they do have to be with us for 2 years. So students who are planning to graduate from high school early, if that's a goal of theirs, then we encourage them to pursue that at their home high school. We are not the place for our students to try to graduate from high school early. We do have that 2-year requirement while they're with us. Of course, we have students who choose to go home. And if that's the case, that is completely understandable. And we'll counsel them through that as well. But just as far as they are aware, sometimes graduating from high school early is the best fit for them. And we want them to follow what's going to be the best fit for them. Completing that Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2, or the KVEC equivalents as schools move to Math 1, 2, 3, have to be completed by the end of sophomore year. But again, as Jeremy said, if a student is really accelerating, or maybe Algebra 1 wasn't an option for them in 8th grade, please get them in contact with us if they're interested, because we can work with them on figuring out what's best. And then that ACT, they have to have a 22 on the math or a 540 on the math of the SAT. I know that if you have sophomores who haven't taken the ACT, the deadline has passed to get registered for the last one available for our deadline. So I can offer them a residual ACT at WKU to still meet that requirement before the deadline. But that's something I'd have to work with that family to get it set up. So not all is lost if they're just hearing about us for the first time and they're a sophomore. But that is something that I would need to get in touch with them sooner rather than later. And of course, our deadline's February 1st. Just like Craft Academy. It is completely online. As a counselor or a GT coordinator, you might be asked to write a letter of recommendation. That's all done online as well. It's super straightforward. It's actually more of a form where we prompt you with questions rather than you writing a letter, so you don't have to start from scratch. But how can you help? So these are the main things that I want to walk away with for how you all can be involved with us. One is invite us to come speak with your students and families, especially our Eastern Kentucky, or even just some of our smaller communities or independent school programs. We talk with students as young as 5th grade, because sometimes you do need a little bit of a longer time to think about it and get used to the idea, rather than just hearing about it for the first time when you're a sophomore, and then it's just like, oh, well, next year I'll be gone. Like, that's kind of difficult for families to understand, especially when they're further away. So I'm happy to do middle school programming or things like that, if that can be helpful for introducing this to your students. And encourage students to look into our program. And something surprise you who might be interested in us. I hear sometimes that guidance counselors or folks are like, oh, well, there's a student that could be good, but I don't think they'd be interested in it. Don't make that decision for them. Let them make that decision for themselves. And it's okay if they say no. It's okay if we're not the right fit for them. But we like making sure that our students have all the options in front of them. Advocate for accelerated coursework. If your district is not offering Algebra 1 for 8th graders, if there's anything that I can do, the Center for Gifted Studies can help with making that implementation possible, if that is something that would be good for your district, we would love to be able to help with that. Students want to be challenged. They want to be able to meet their potential, and anything that we can do to help make that happen, we would love to be a part of. I know this one's a bit farther away, but I always make it an option. It's like, you can host a field trip to come visit us. I would be happy to put together a day or even just a brief tour for students to be able to not only see our program, but see Western Kentucky University as well. But then also just talk to us and ask questions. Don't I'm always happy if you're confused about something, if you heard something and you're not sure if that's correct, I'm happy to clarify things as possible. So here's some of our contact information. My email address is on that home slide, but you can also email our general email, academy@wku.edu. So yes, so I know there was a lot of information to throw at you, especially when you had already heard such great information from Academy as well, but I'm happy to answer any follow-up questions.
I have a real quick question, Carrie Lynn. You said that if they have already missed the ACT date, that they could schedule it to be taken with you. But is it also possible for that to be scheduled maybe at one of the community colleges here close by, or at one of the universities close to us here in Eastern Kentucky, or does it have to be through you?
I would have to do some digging into that. Usually if a school is offering the ACT not on a national ACT test date, it's for those scores to only go to that school.
Okay.
And so if they take it at a community college or a testing center, sometimes they have limitations on where they'll send those scores. If they can
Gotcha.
send the scores to WKU from there after getting it set up, absolutely we'll take them. But sometimes there are just limitations on when you set it up, not on the national ACT or SAT test.
Understand. Thank you. And will you share your PowerPoint with me and email it to me to where I can drop it in the folder for everybody?
Absolutely.
Does anybody else have any questions? Type in the chat or unmute. Feel free to unmute and ask questions, please. In my original.
Oh, I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead. Go ahead, Kim.
Did you say that the school pays for their travel abroad, like Costa Rica or the United Kingdom? Do y'all?
So we provide $1,000 to everyone to go to one of these trips. And each trip costs a little bit different because one's 2 weeks as opposed to 3 weeks. So we have an application system set up that our students who are on needs-based scholarships already receive some extra funding for it. And then we also help them apply for scholarships through WKU Study Abroad program. And then we also have foundation funds that we can use to help cover the differences, but it's always on a case-by-case basis. But if a student wants to attend a trip and cost is a barrier, we work with them to make it happen.
Great question.
Thank you so much for having me. And if anyone has questions that they want to ask through an email or a phone call, I'm happy to do that as well.
Wonderful. Thank you also. Thank you so much, Carrie Lynn. Great information. Wonderful experiences. What I was going to say is I'm from a district that we've had students attend both Craft and Gatton Academy, and it's been wonderful experiences for those students. We've had some that actually did exactly what you recommended, Carrie, applying to both. And be accepted to both to where they had the choice. And so that's a wonderful suggestion too. But does anybody else have any questions before we move on? Are we good?
Did she say that they have to go home once a week or once a month?
Once per month is the requirement, but
Okay.
Our students are every other weekend, I would say, is the sweet spot for our students. We don't want them to go home more often than that if possible, because we want them to develop community, and a lot of that happens on the weekends because that can help.
Well, I like the idea of the shuttle.
Yes, that's one.
Is London, because that's pretty close to Eastern Kentucky.
Yeah. And if the more Eastern Kentucky students we receive, that location might get further east.
I noticed on your map there wasn't a single Leslie County, and one other county was
Letcher,
the
Leslie,
only gray counties on the whole
Letcher,
map.
Leslie, and Robertson, we have not had a student from yet, but everywhere, the other 117 we have.
Okay. Like I said, I think it's the homebodies we have.
I understand.
The fear of leaving.
I understand that. I'd be happy to come talk with them and get them excited about it.
I'm going to try my best because I have several students that would make excellent candidates for either academy.
I know that with Letcher County, and Ronnie's not on here anymore, but we've had several go to
Craft.
Craft. Yeah, we've had a bunch go to Craft. So they maybe where that's a little bit closer to home.
It is, and that's completely understandable.
Right now, I have one of my GT students is at Craft Academy right now. And she was the first student in Leslie County District to ever attend. And I was so proud of her for doing that. And her brother is set to go next, when he finishes and ready.
Awesome. I really like the idea of the shuttle because I had no idea that was an option. That's really a nice thing that you all provide. Did not realize that was available.
Yeah. So again, happy to come out and talk with everyone, your families, to make sure that people know about that. Because I think a lot of folks just see it on the map and then are like, oh, well, we can't do that. I'm like, we have ways to help support you and your family because we want it to be an option for the entire state.
Wonderful. That's awesome. Well, thank you all both so much. Appreciate you taking the time to be with us and sharing about your awesome institutions and opportunities that you're providing for the kids throughout the state of Kentucky. I will be putting their PowerPoints in our folder for you all to be able to access. So let me get that link so that when I get those, I'm going to drop them in there along with a recording for you all so that you all can, I'm going to put in, not what I wanted to do. Let's do this. There we go. So I'm going to drop that in for you all. That's going to have our Padlet, our KVEC PL calendar, and the participant folder are all there for you all. And then I'm also going to drop in the chat the feedback survey for you all because this was it for our meeting today. Because that was something that you all expressed an interest in our October meeting of being able to hear from the Craft and the Gatton Academies. And so I was just going to let you all be able to go ahead and leave after this hour. So I'm going to drop your survey in there to provide you with your ELA credit so that you can fill that out. But if there's not any questions, you get your get your survey filled out. It should email you a certificate for the ELA credit today. If you have any questions, anything, let me know. But our next meeting, since the 4th Monday is Christmas Day, we will not be meeting on that day. But we will meet in January, which is, I believe, let me take a look. What day that is. I had it on a slide there for us, but that will be January 22nd will be our next meeting date. So thank you all so much for being here today. Unless you all have something else to bring up or questions, anything that you all would like for us to have for our next meeting, please send me any comments, drop it in the chat of what you would like to have for our next meeting. And thank you again, Craft Academy and Carrie, Lynn. Appreciate you all so much and the great information that you provided for our region. Thank you.